Stas23 here. In today's knife therapy, I have the Tempest Knives MicroBurst. This is a prototype, and if you don't know who Tempest Knives is, this Mr. Casey from the Knives Fast channel started a brand called Tempest Knives. And this was the first knife that went to production. This is his pinion model. It's a nice full-size EDC knife. He also had the Mach 20. Ah, man, I'm gonna mess it up. He had a titanium frame lock, but he didn't have it. He couldn't get enough funding for that one, so he went to the next design in his repertoire. So the MicroBurst is the next model. This one is still available, and it's a awesome knife. These are OEM by Kubi Knives, and they did an excellent job on them. So the MicroBurst, super cool, smaller knife, and man, I'm gonna say right now, I love the knife. Let's get some quick specs out of the way, and these could change a little, so I'll let y'all know of any changes through the community tab. You have a total length of 7 inches, so it's in that medium size range. A blade length of 2.98 inches, so it's going to be legal in all areas that have 3 and under blade laws. You have a cutting edge of 2.5 inches, and your grip area without the choil from here to the back right here is 3 inches. All the way to the front of that choil is 3.9 inches. Your handle scale thickness is 0.47 inches, so it's a little slimmer than average. Your closed width in the pocket at the 2 widest points is 1.4 inches. Your blade stock thickness is coming in at 0.12, and the behind the edge thickness on this particular prototype is around 20 thousandths, sharpened at 20 degrees per side. All right, so let's take a closer look at this. Now, this is this variation has a Stonewash blade and black micarta. I think he also will be offering it in a black wash blade and black micarta, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure he will be in the comments. So if y'all have any questions for him, feel free to ask him down below, or if he doesn't see it, I will ask him myself. You have this nice, beautiful drop point right here, and I absolutely love this blade. It's got a beautiful Stonewash finish on here, and I hope he stays with that Stonewash. I think it looks really nice. Kubi does a good job with their Stonewashes. You have a nice little top swedge up here for added aesthetic. You have a, pretty nice, robust tip right there for doing some tip work. And you have the Tempest Knives logo right there. I think that looks really nice as well. You do have a small row of jimping, and it does do its job. If you're choked back right there, it'll hold onto your thumb. I'm not really a particular jimping man, but, if I have to have it, either something like this or the fine cut jimping is probably my favorite. It just grips the hold to the thumb, and it doesn't bother you if you're not using it. You have dual thumb studs on here. The blade steel on this prototype is in D2. He is shooting for 14C, just like on the pinion, so we'll have to wait and see for that. I love how it has that full forward finger choil, and I go back and forth on forward finger choils, and for a smaller knife that you want to be able to fit more people's hands, I think it makes sense. I know on the other end of that, you're saying you're already have a less than a 3-inch blade, and you're shrinking that down to 1/2 inch of cutting edge. So I get that as well, but with a smaller knife like this, it's for smaller knife tasks. If you got something where you need to cut a big piece of something, you're gonna usually grab a bigger knife if you can. But at that 7-inch mark, I think that is a perfect EDC size. I mean, you can get a lot done with a blade this size. Pretty sure the knife has a flat grind on it. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it is a flat grind. I am not sure if that's what he's going with or not. Of course, I would love to see a deep hollow on there, but flat grind, Kubi usually does a good job with their grinding. So now I think all there is left to do is to do a little cutting with this and see how well it performs. This knife came ridiculously sharp from factory. I'm pretty sure I'm the first person who got this particular sample, and it is slicing very, very well. That choke up position was a sweet spot because I didn't want to get hung up in there. Very comfortable, and in the hand as well, doing this light duty to cutting. we're really not trying to test for edge retention here because this isn't going to be the steel that they use. This one is in D2. Here we're just testing the ergos in this piece of birch, and once again, that choke up spot is nice and comfortable, just showing that I can make super fine curls if I want to. And we're gonna continue to increase the pressure as I go into this wood. The more pressure you get, that's when you'll start feeling hot spots, but this handle is nice and comfortable. That micarta is comfortable. There's no hot spots that I felt. I felt locked in, and I really, felt good all the way choked up in that forward finger choil. Definitely the sweet spot for this knife when you want to get right up onto that edge. Now you can back up some, just got to be mindful of the choil. One thing I really loved about this knife is the size of that blade. I'm able to get my finger, I can go all the way to that tip or right there at the top and really control it very, very well. It has just the right amount of belly to easily cut on this flat surface. None of the material really gave it any issues whatsoever. It's really blasting through it, and it really shows when I go to cut that corner cardboard. I was kind of shocked on how effortlessly it pushed through it. It is sped up 2 times here, but still it is passing through it no problem. And once we get to this denim right here, that's when I can really feel that the edge has good bite to it. It's nice and slicey and nice and comfortable in the pinch grip. Now we move on to the 1/2 inch twisted sisal rope, and this is where I was most impressed with this knife. Not only did it have a lot of bite, it was so sharp. I am barely pushing through here. It's popping this stuff, push cutting it pretty much the entire way. And I was going through it simple enough to where it wasn't uncomfortable, because a lot of handles, a lot of knives, either they're thick bevels or they're just not sharp enough, and they really struggle going through this rope. Not this one at all. I decided, like I said before, I cut all the rope I have on cut at this particular knife, and it blasts through it, makes 51 cuts, and this knife is definitely still sharp. I will test it at the end of the test. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that cutting, and I know this isn't the blade steel that he's probably going to go with, but I just want to show y'all, Kubi does a pretty good job. I think this knife is pretty sharp still. Let's see. Yeah. And I cut more than I usually cut of the sisal rope, especially with the budget knives. And look at that. I'll tell you what, this thing came ridiculously sharp. And one thing I can say about Kubi as well, as far as their D2, they do a pretty good job with it. I've never been disappointed with their D2. They do a pretty good job with their 14C. And they do a good job with their AUS 10 as well. Now, let's take a look at the deployment and action of the knife. Like I said, it's thumb stud deployer. You have a nice cutout right there, so you have easy access to that thumb stud. He was thinking about maybe moving this thumb stud down a little bit because it makes the detent a little bit snappier with it up like that. I don't know. I think I might like it the way it is, because you just touch that and that thing flies out. And I can still do a slow roll with it pretty easily, especially if I use this part of my thumb. I could easily slow roll it. Now, as far as reverse flicking, as you can see, it is close up to that scale, but if you take the pad of your thumb and just put it on the top of that, you can easily reverse flick it as well. I can kind of get my fingernail there, but it's going to tear it up after a while, so I just like to put that pad of my middle finger on there. The knife is riding on ceramic bearings, nice and smooth. Not super drop shutty, but this is a brand new prototype, and I'm sure it'll break in over time. It does have a ceramic detent ball as well. All right, let's close it up and take a look at the handle area. You have his same decorative pivot. I like that. It's like a wheel right there. Looks nice. It is pretty close to countersunk. It's almost flush. It just sits up just a little bit. Your handle scales are contoured, and that's what's kind of bringing that up a little bit. Your pivot is a T8, And the body screws are also T8 as long as with that clip. I'm using, this is a Weehaw driver, nice quality Weehaw bit there. It's the only type of bits I use. And let's see how that, nice tight fitment, nice depth to them. Very crisp, look at that, T8, love seeing that. And the body screws are countersunk and flush to the frame, like seeing that as well. Yeah, nice fitment there. You have the wire pocket clip that is pretty deep carry. Let's check it out on the pocket real quick. Now it is tip up, right hand carry only. Sorry about that, lefties, but you know, there you go. That's all you have sticking out of the pocket, so not bad, especially with those black scales. Micarta helps grip it in that pocket pretty nicely. That's one thing I like about the wire pocket clip when it's done well and it's not sitting up too high. Whenever I'm doing my tests and stuff, it stays out of the way of my palm. I did not feel that whatsoever. Now let's take a look at the inside. You have a titanium backspacer with a hidden lanyard post for the lanyard people out there. I like the fact that he used a titanium backspacer. I don't know how much that's going to drive the cost up. And I don't know the cost because I don't think he knows the cost yet of what these are going to cost to come out. So whenever I do know, like I said, I will leave it in the community. I'll make a community post about it and also correct it in my videos. Let's see. You have a little bit of internal milling you can see on the back side of the lock side right there. Hopefully y'all can see that. You have a lot of internal milling on the show side scale. You do have inset stainless steel liners. Very nice. Love seeing that. Let's take a look at the lockup. The lockup is sitting at around, I'd say 40% and rock solid. No play, no movement up or down, left or right whatsoever. The access to the lock bar is okay. The cutout right here, I would like to see it a little bit lower, kind of like on the pinion. As you can see, he did make it lower so you can get to it easier. And one thing that, you know, one thing that I noticed on here and on this one, especially on this one because of the smaller cutout right here, love to see a small bevel put on this lock face right there. It's got a very tiny bevel, so it's not sharp. It's just not the most comfortable whenever pushing down on it. Now, that would probably be fine if this was cut down just a little bit more so I had more meat on my thumb onto that lock bar. It's not terrible or anything, but something that, you know, I would like to mention. You know, it's something that he may want to change whenever it comes to the final production of this. Now for some quick size comparisons with some somewhat similar knives in hand. You have the Kaiser October, which is almost identical in overall length and about the same blade length as well. And then you have the Kaiser Towser S right here, which is a little bit shorter. Next up, we have the Ontario Rat Model 2 and the QSP Penguin. These are also good size references. It looks like the Penguin might be a hair longer, not by much, and the Ontario is very, very close in overall length, but I will say that the MicroBurst is way more comfortable in hand than the Ontario Rat 2. And lastly, we have the Kaiser Comorant and the Civivi Elementum. The Elementum is maybe a hair longer, and so is the Comorant's a little bit longer than both of these. Now let's get a quick weight first in grams. 93 grams and 3.28 ounces, so perfectly a-okay for me. All right, now for my nitpicks and complaints. Maybe just nitpicks because, you know, functionally the knife is great. Maybe the fine jimping, but I don't really care about jimping, so that would have to be something that y'all would like more. And definitely let him know if there's something that you see that, you know, you don't like. Just let him know, you know, it may be something that he wasn't unsure of. So he's definitely open to suggestions, but, you know, the whole form factor of the knife, I wouldn't change a thing. This is the only thing right here. Maybe put that same cutout like you have on the pinion. The access here is a lot better, and maybe a little bit bigger of a chamfer on that lock bar to make it a little bit more comfortable. It's very comfortable left-handed, but I just wish there was a little bit more access here. And as far as changing the thumb stud placement, I think it's good where it's at. You get a nice positive action on it. And what he was going for is keeping it out of the blade path whenever you're cutting something. So I think it's in a good spot. That's not something I would change. Other than that, you know, I think he has a winner here. Like I said, I wish I knew the price of these. If he has, you know, come up with a rough price, maybe he'll let y'all know down in the comments, but I don't think he has decided yet, or he won't know until he decides the blade steel and stuff like that, and how many he's going to order. You know, all that stuff matters. So I hope y'all enjoyed this one. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask me down below. Love to hear y'all thoughts. If you plan on picking one of these up, definitely let us know that also down in the comments, so he has an idea of, you know, what the feelings are on the MicroBurst. I'm excited for it. I definitely hope to see this one come to fruition. Also, if you haven't already and you're interested, I think he may have some of these pinions still left on the site. Tell you what, this is an excellent knife. The action's excellent. It's super comfortable in hand. It did great in my testing. It's in 14C 28N steel. I have a full review and testing of the pinion as well up on the channel. So if you haven't seen that one, you want to check this one out also, go check it out. But the MicroBurst, yeah, I knew right away when he showed me the prototype to this that it was a win. So there you go. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. And I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.